Welcome to On-Demand Instructions video on Writing Standard 3.2. We will discuss using narrative techniques to develop experiences, events, and/or characters. We will be covering the core standards in literature, write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences or events using effective technique, well-chosen details, and well-structured event sequences. Use narrative techniques such as dialogue, pacing, description, reflection, and multiple plot lines to develop experiences, events, and/or characters. This session's goals are to learn how to use narrative techniques in character and event development. Let's start with what you already might know about this subject by answering these questions. What is dialogue? What is pacing? What is description? What is reflection? What are multiple plot lines? Dialogue is conversation between two or more characters in a narrative. For example, "What do you have for lunch today?" Jane asked. "A peanut butter sandwich and an apple," Mark replied. Dialogue lets the reader know what the characters in a story are saying to each other. Pacing is a manipulation of time. It has been described as cutting everything out but the good parts. The elements of time in a story include the time of day or period, flashbacks, and foreshadowing. Elements of time include when the story is told compared to when it takes place. It also includes at which point in a character's life it begins. It could start at his birth and end with his death, but many stories are more limited to a certain length of time in a character's life. To keep the pacing in a story, a writer will generally cut out what is not necessary to the plot. For example, a story would get quite long if the author described what happened while a character slept. Things like that are usually left out for pacing, unless it helps forward the plot. To describe is to convey in words the appearance, attributes, or nature of something. A writer could say something like, "Paula stood by the tree." That would give the location of Paula, but not much else. With more description, it could be, "Paula stood by the tallest oak tree in town, over 5 stories high. Its leaves rustled in the spring wind, whispering like excited children." With more description, we now know the size of the tree, which tree it is, and what season it is. To reflect on something is to think, ponder, or meditate. In literature, a character can think about something in the past or wonder about what may happen in the future. It's a technique a writer could use to flash back or foreshadow. A narrative can have one or more plot lines, which are events that center around one or more groups of characters. These plot lines may or may not be of the same importance, as there can be a main plot and one or more subplots. These subplots can contrast the main plot and make certain events stand out. For instance, a plot can revolve around a certain character and reveal her evil past. A subplot could encompass a secondary character and her quest for good. At some point, these two plot lines could merge, and it could be discovered that the good character is the illegitimate daughter of the evil character, making for a more interesting story. Writing a story with dialogue, description, and reflection bring a story together and helps forward the plot. Pacing is necessary to keep interest up. Multiple plot lines is another technique used to maintain reader interest. All of these put together will bring about a character's experiences and events that they encounter or experience. Read the following story. The pacing in the story is of the utmost importance. If the author had described everything that happened in the amount of time it took for the tree to grow up, days, months, decades, this would have ceased to be a short story. The description used, chilling rain, scudding, hurrying clouds, a dragonfly with iridescent cathedral window wings, the ceiling that looked like a question mark, could bring interesting pictures to the reader's mind. The girl's character is developed as being patient and free-spirited. All of this put together develops the event of her sitting atop a grown tree in the end. Let's do an activity to further enhance your skills. Write a short story of your own from these ideas or come up with an idea of your own. While writing, include the techniques you learned here: dialogue, pacing, description, reflection, and multiple plot lines to develop the events and characters. Why are these techniques important? Techniques like these are necessary to writing an interesting story. These are the tools to use to make an okay story into a great one. Who uses these techniques? Authors all around the world use these techniques. Next time you pick up a book, make a note to look for them as you read. How can I use what I learned here? You can use these techniques to spice up your own writing or to help a classmate critique theirs. As a student, you're expected to use narrative techniques such as dialogue, pacing, description, reflection, and multiple plot lines to develop experiences, events, and/or characters. We've come to the end of our session. We've discussed using dialogue, using pacing, using description, using reflection, multiple plot lines. To learn more, go to these websites for additional information. Return to www.ondemandinstruction.com for more instructional videos, podcasts, and materials. We update the site weekly.